The only D&D that I consume makes me poop. I really want to try D&D, but I've never played it before. So, of course, I instead listened to Not Another D&D Podcast religiously to fill the void. NADDPOD, as it's shortened to, has recently begun its third major campaign. I really love listening to it, and I really love the player characters, and I love imagining what they're doing in the theater of the mind. But it's an audio medium. It's a podcast. So I wanted to take the opportunity to interpret the characters visually. I also had a hankering to do a marker illustration. You know, alcohol markers, you know, your Copics, your Pro markers, your off-brand stuff that has weird, gross buildup on it. For a lot of my earliest videos on this channel, I used these alcohol markers all the time. I just loved blending them. I loved using the brush tips, the chisel nibs, these things. They're really expensive, but they're really fun. And I haven't done them in a super long time, so I figured, hey, I'll use this opportunity to not only visually interpret these cool characters, but do it in a medium that I genuinely love and have not done in a long time. I'm covering my bases if this doesn't turn out very good. But first I gotta introduce the characters of the NADDPOD, the Campaign 3. They're good, I like them. Calder, he's a half-giant. He's very tall, he's very strong, he's got pale blue skin, but he's also very timid and is not very confident because for a giant, he's very small, and he thinks of himself as small, and that's funny. Calliope Petrichor, or Callie. Callie is a rainy day Eladrin. Eladrin are elves, basically, what represent the seasons, like spring, summer, or paprika. She's from an infamous crime family and has been through a very painful recent breakup and is seeing a therapist. Saul Buffo! He's very positive and friendly despite his years of indoctrination to an evil corporation. He's also a frogman, and he's hot. They also have a duck who isn't a duck, but is kind of a duck. Still a duck. They're the duck team. Guys, I'm looking through my marker collection right now, and I'm seeing something. I'm seeing this really cool metaphor that we could use. A visual aid, if you will. You see the red subscribe button down below? Right now it's this color. If it's this color, that's no good. What you're going to want to do is you're going to click on that color, and then you're going to want to make it this color. It's a little slight difference. You might find that this is like a R27 cadmium red. But what you're really looking for is this PB161 Prismacolor French Gray 70%. Can you do that for me? Awesome. Before we start the time lapse, I have a cautionary tale to offer all of you aspiring marker illustrators out there. And that is to always thumbnail. Make thumbnails. Make sketches of your art. Go in with a plan, please. I wasted a long time going into this with just, here, I'll even get it. I ripped it. All right, first things first. I use this flimsy paper. It is, like, technically marketed as, like, marker paper, but I think it's just for, like, sketches for, like, you know, if you're in some, like, high-end fashion institute, and then you have to, like, make some colorful strokes on your dress. I don't know why I did that, but I went in and did this, and I had no plan for it. And when you're doing a marker illustration in which you have to sketch the entire thing in pencil first, so you have a thing to map out your eventual fine liners, the things that are going to make the lines and make everything like cohesive and come together, you're going to need to do that and erase that, and it's a mess. It was a mess. Don't do that. You need a place to put your markers. They're expensive. Treat them with respect. So I took a step back, took a break, evaluated my options. Discovered that I have better paper. Bristol pad. Use that. That's pretty good. I don't have blending card, like Copic blending card. That's better. But Bristol? It's there in a pinch. Don't use the tooth stuff. That'll get caught. It'll make pools of ink. Don't do it. Hear that? That's the sound of quality. And then I made some thumbnails. I made some doodles. I made some sketches. And I eventually came up with this. I really like this. It took me like 3 minutes to make that, and it was better than anything I was coming up with on the fly. So sometimes do things on the fly, sometimes plan. Please. Plan, please, peasants. I'm back. Sorry, I had to go live my life for a little bit. Where was I when I was recording this last time? Essentially, I took that small sketch that I made on that piece of paper and I enlarged it, upscaling it, making a few adjustments here and there. For example, one of Callie's hands does this little peace sign, and I decided to make it so that she's doing two peace signs and one is in a different position than the other one. Just other minor fixes that I wasn't necessarily thinking about when I made that little doodle on the scrap piece of paper. But I was immediately happy with how it was turning out. The characters felt much more spirited, it had more attitude, it was showcasing their personalities more, and the composition itself was a lot more interesting than them just kind of standing around. A little behind the scenes for you guys, I had a camera immediately in front of my face as I was drawing this entire thing, and so I had to shimmy back and forth and wrap my head and neck and body around this camera that was on this tripod, and I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to see what I was doing, but the lines came out much cleaner than I had anticipated, and that was a huge relief. Finally, onto the markers. This is where the personality of the characters really shines through. Now, you're going to be tempted to feel bad sometimes, at least I do, when you are finished with the inks, because the sketch phase with the pencil, what I like to do is I like to go things over and over and over again. So you have this really action-oriented grouping of lines. You have a lot of cool line width and stuff, but that's really kind of hard to achieve with the multi-liners because they are so rigid and they are just so much of a point, and it's going to be hard to color that in later, so that when you finally get it all inked out, it looks unfinished. It looks kind of gross and rigid, and you feel kind of nervous about that. But when you get those markers on there, you start applying that color, everything starts to come together. And that's why you really got to stick it through. Grab the multi-liners, added some more details, lots of cross-hatching, lots of reinforcing some existing lines, and I was done. Coming back to markers. Much more intuitive than I thought. I had a lot more fun than I thought I would. I thought it was just going to be a stressful experience, which I don't know why. I collected all these markers for a reason. I like using them. They're super fun to blend. When you have all of these colors laid out in front of you, it's much different than doing digital, despite having, an unlimited amount of colors, because you get to just... So there's something tactile about selecting on purpose 2 different colors or 3 different colors to color in a certain area, or having to find different things to match. It gives, I don't know, it gives it more of a connection, more of a hands-on feel, and it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Don't get expensive ones. Don't buy Copics right away because that's too much. Duck Team. I'm really happy with the outcome. Not just because I love the characters so much, but because it represents my love for marker illustration coming back, and I get to do more of this. It's a little bit sloppy in some areas, I'm seeing, especially with the line work. I didn't really properly go over it that well. It's kind of faint, kind of loose, but you know what? It just means I get to improve and do some more of it, so... Get ready for more of those videos. Subscribe, by the way. Not only has this illustration made me excited to do more marker stuff, but it may have also inspired me to play some D&D. Because it's cool now, Mom!